good to be with you all. I was here last year actually, and it's great to be here again. And I think events like this are so important because, in my view, I was raised by my mama and papa, and I was raised by them because my mom struggled with opioid addiction for a big chunk of my early life. And my mama and papa were back in the '60s. They were what was called conservative Union Democrats, because they felt that's the Democrats were the party for working people. And my papa worked in a steel mill for 40 years. And I think it's great. This event is so great because in 2022, the Democrats have abandoned working people, and the Republican Party is the party for working people. It's great to be here. It's great to follow the great Ken Blackwell. He's been a friend of mine and one of the few people I trust when I actually want real advice about what's going on in American politics these days. So great to have you, Ken. I got to say, we've got an incredible slate of candidates up and down the ballot. We have got to get all of them across the finish line. We have so much good going on in the state of Ohio. Think about how much Governor's guy just mentioned the Intel facility. Think of how much good we have in the state of Ohio. I think we have the best people, the best workers, the best families. We just got to stop screwing everything up in Washington, D.C., which is why we got to get me elected in November. But we're going to keep on the momentum here in the state of Ohio. We have a great Secretary of State, Frank LaRose, here. I've got friends who are running for Senate in a few races across the country. One of the cool things about what I think is going to be a real red wave in November is you're going to get a lot of young, fresh blood in Washington, D.C. People are going to look at that town with fresh eyes. But I got to say, these guys were running the primary, and 3 days, 4 days, 5 days after their primaries, they still didn't know who the winner was. Thank God we've got a Secretary of State in Ohio who actually believes in putting on a free and fair election where you know who won the same day. Thank God for that, and thank you, Frank. I saw Justice Pat Fisher with a C for conservative, common sense, and constitutionalist, and also Chief Justice candidate, Sharon Kennedy. Look, we haven't learned anything in the last couple of years. We have got to have a conservative Supreme Court in the state of Ohio. My Lord. When we were trying to figure out our primary, think about this as from the perspective of a candidate. We're trying to figure out when we're going to have the primary, and it was totally unclear because the Supreme Court kept on screwing with all the district maps. And so we had, a month before our election, we still weren't confident that we were going to have a primary election on May 3rd. And that's what happens when you have activists who dominate the Supreme Court. And what we're going to do is elect these great Supreme Court justices and make sure we turn this around. But let me talk about my race a little bit. So we are in a real fight in the state of Ohio. And I think we have a few very, very simple principles that our campaign is all about. The first is that if you work hard and play by the rules, you ought to be able to support a family in the state of Ohio. And we're not going to be able to do that unless we get this terrible inflation crisis under control. We start getting groceries at a reasonable price in this country. We have got to stop the Biden administration and Tim Ryan, my Democratic opponent, from going to war on American energy. These guys have gotten in their head that you can power a modern first world economy with solar panels and windmills. And look, I'm an all of the above energy approach guy, okay? All the solar and wind we can get, but we need nuclear, and we need coal, and we need oil, and we need natural gas. Ladies and gentlemen, we need all the energy so our people can actually prosper. It's a very, very simple thing. When Joe Biden took over, they said, gas was just north, I believe, of $2 a gallon. So it goes up to $5 a gallon. And then now it's back, $3.75 or so. And these guys actually want us to congratulate them, right? What a great job they did. That they jacked gas up to $5 a gallon and then brought it down a little bit. But it's not just gas, it's food, it's housing. We got to stop in this country, ladies and gentlemen. I believe America should be owned by Americans. We got to stop letting Chinese investors buy up our homes and make sure our homes are owned by our people. Now, second, law and order. We believe in law and order in this party. We believe that police should be empowered to do their jobs. And importantly, we believe we should have enough law enforcement officers so they can do the difficult work of community policing. I was meeting with some fraternal order police folks in Columbus just a few weeks ago. and they believe that they are 25% understaffed at the Columbus Fraternal Order of Police. And you know what was interesting? I never heard this before. That because they are so understaffed, they don't feel like they can do the work in the community that they need to do. They're all reacting. It's all somebody gets a call, somebody has a robbery, somebody has a carjacking, and they've got to descend and try to fix that problem as quickly as possible and then get on to the next thing. But what about having law enforcement officers that are part of the community that they're serving? Our police cannot be expected to do this when they're 25% understaffed, ladies and gentlemen. So all the problems, it's this crazy thing where the Democrats try to pit law enforcement against the communities that they serve. Tim Ryan, my Democrat opponent, said that our law enforcement is the new Jim Crow. Is that insulting to the people in this room? It's the new Jim Crow to have police who police? Absolutely not. But this is what happens when you have a federal government that is more committed to letting violent criminals out of prison than supporting our law enforcement. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get back to a very simple principle when I'm in Washington. We're going to declare a war on the violent criminals and support our local police and everything that they're doing. Let me just talk about this border, okay? Now, 15 years ago, when we started having an opioid and a heroin problem in our communities, you know what disproportionately affected white Americans. If you looked at who was dying the most, it was disproportionately white Americans. Because of the fentanyl, the poison that's coming across the border in record numbers now, we are catching up in a way that nobody should want black Americans to be catching up, which is fentanyl overdose deaths. Been skyrocketing in the black community the last 5 years. So it used to be a problem that was focused in one sector of our country. Now it's everybody because it's everywhere, and this poison is coming in via the southern border. Joe Biden and Tim Ryan have allowed the Mexican drug cartels to turn the southern border into the drug trafficking capital of the world. They say that it's bad to enforce your own border. They say that you're a xenophobe if you enforce your own border. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't care about the border because we hate anybody. We care about the border because we love our own people. And when I'm in the Senate, we're starting to enforce that border and stopping the poison coming across our country. Now look, we have an important job here in the Republican Party, all of us, at the grassroots level, at the individual level. Every single person has a role here. Okay? My role is simple. It's to get out and talk to as many people. It's to raise resources so that we can get as many TV commercials on the air. Because we got to correct the record about this complete fraud, Tim Ryan. A guy who pretends to be a centrist, a moderate, an independent, and yet you look at his voting record. He's been against law enforcement. He's been against a secure border. He's been against everything that we care about in this room. But the thing I need you all to do is to tell the truth. Get out there and tell people what Tim Ryan's all about. Get out there and tell people the stakes. Get out there and let people know that unless we win this race, we could lose the greatest country in the entire world. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what we're going to do. Get in the fight. Let's get out there and do the work. God bless you. Thank you for everything.